What if a single missile could turn off the lights of an entire city without exploding? China has just revealed its terrifying new blackout bomb that can literally put an entire nation to sleep. And it's already testing the US like never before. You won't believe how this secret weapon actually works, and you certainly won't expect why it could mean the end of modern warfare as we know it. The People's Republic of China has officially unveiled a new type of long-range attack weapon that can paralyze an entire country by plunging it into darkness. It's a true silent weapon that leaves no physical trace of its attack, which is able to shut down every electrical power grid in an entire region, plunging it into darkness while leaving the area completely unharmed. But how does this seemingly magic weapon actually work, and why does it represent the greatest threat to countries all around the world? Let's break it down. This incredible blackout weapon is composed of ordinary carbon filament technology. The only thing that distinguishes these filaments from your standard light bulb is that they are encased inside a self-destruct warhead that can be launched thousands of miles. Once the warhead is activated, the carbon fibers within it release an electromagnetic pulse or EMP wave that surges through the air at the speed of light. To make matters worse, these EMP waves are specifically designed to target the most common frequencies used by modern power grids. So once they come into contact with the grid lines, transformers, and other electrical infrastructure, they cause the electricity to surge, burning out the circuitry and overloading the system beyond repair. It's like flipping the switch to a light that's attached to a fuse box, except in this case, instead of a single light going out, the fuse blows and the whole house goes dark. Except instead of a house, it's an entire city or even an entire nation. And what makes this even more catastrophic is the fact that these EMP waves travel at the same speed as light. They're basically invisible and they cannot be stopped. By the time people realize what is happening, it's already too late. Because these waves are moving so fast, they'll reach their target within a fraction of a second, plunging them into total darkness before anyone even realizes what has happened. In a way, these blackout bombs are very similar to the graphite bombs, developed by the United States back in the 1990s, known as the B. These bombs were originally designed to disable enemy radar systems by saturating the electromagnetic spectrum with massive amounts of graphite, but they quickly gained notoriety for their potential use in a much broader range of applications. In fact, the US military eventually classified these weapons as tactical nuclear devices because of their ability to effectively shut down an entire region without causing any physical damage. And it's this Black Ops style capability that has made them such a controversial weapon throughout history. When it comes to warfare, one of the most important aspects of any military strategy is choosing targets that will have the most impact on the enemy. A blackout bomb offers some unique strategic advantages here, since these weapons are able to completely shut down an entire region without causing any physical damage. They're ideal for situations where there may be civilian casualties. For example, if two nations are engaged in a military conflict and one of them decides to strike back at the enemy's capital city, a blackout bomb would allow them to inflict maximum damage without causing any physical harm to the city or its inhabitants. This is a major advantage over traditional weapons like cruise missiles or atom bombs, which can cause widespread destruction and civilian casualties. In addition to the strategic advantages, blackout bombs also offer a psychological edge as well. When an entire city or region is plunged into darkness, it creates a sense of fear and uncertainty. People don't know what hit them or why the lights went out. It creates a climate of fear that can be exploited by the military to sow discord and confusion among the enemy ranks. According to the Chinese Ministry of Defense, this new weapon is currently undergoing final tests before it's officially commissioned into the military. And once it's ready for deployment, it'll be deployed along the border with Taiwan. But why Taiwan specifically? Well, according to Chinese officials, it's because Taiwan is a potential separatist state. They claim that Taiwan's current government is preparing to formally declare independence from mainland China, which would violate the long-standing One China policy that has governed relations between the two countries for decades. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province and has threatened to use force to bring it back under Beijing's control. Recently, China has ramped up its military activity near Taiwan, sending fighter jets and bombers into the island's air defense zone, on a near-daily basis. And many analysts believe that a blackout bomb would be a key part of any future Chinese invasion of Taiwan. That's because Taiwan relies heavily on imported oil to power its economy. Most of Taiwan's oil comes from Saudi Arabia, which means that a blackout bomb could potentially cripple the island's entire energy infrastructure. Without power, Taiwan's military would be unable to defend itself, leaving it vulnerable to a full-scale invasion by Chinese troops. The Chinese blackout bomb represents a serious threat to the United States. If China were to use this weapon against American allies in the Pacific region, it could have a devastating impact on U.S. interests in the area. The good news is that the U.S. military is already developing its own EMP weapons, so they may be able to defend against this threat. The bad news is that these weapons aren't currently operational yet, and it may be too late to stop China's plans for Taiwan. In recent years, the US has become increasingly concerned about the proliferation of EMP weapons around the world. In fact, the US military has been tracking several cases of possible EMP attacks since the beginning of the Iraq War. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 2003, when a power outage struck 14 Iraqi cities, plunging them into darkness. At the time, US officials blamed Iraqi insurgents, but some experts suspected that an EMP weapon had been used. Another incident occurred in 2010 when the Serbian power grid was knocked offline, plunging the country into darkness. Again, the US officials were quick to blame outside forces, but many experts believed that an EMP weapon was responsible. These cases are far from isolated incidents. In fact, there have been hundreds of similar cases reported around the world over the past decade, and many experts believe that we're at the beginning of a new arms race. As more and more countries develop EMP weapons, the risk of them being used only increases. Eventually, someone may get desperate enough to use this type of weapon in an actual conflict. And when that happens, the consequences could be catastrophic. Countries can protect their grids from blackout bombs by investing in hardened power infrastructure that is specifically designed to withstand EMP attacks. This can include things like Faraday cages to enclose sensitive equipment, or burying power cables underground where they are less vulnerable to attack. Additionally, nations can also implement early warning systems that can detect an EMP attack as it's happening, giving people time to take cover or disconnect electronic devices from the grid. Ultimately, though, the best defense against a blackout bomb is to prevent it from being used in the first place. This can be achieved through diplomatic efforts to reduce tensions between nations and increase transparency about military activities. As the world becomes increasingly interconnected, it's important that countries work together to prevent any potential conflicts from escalating into a full-blown war. With that said, this new development marks a dangerous escalation in the ongoing conflict between China and Taiwan, and it raises concerns about the potential for future conflicts to utilize similar tactics. The use of a blackout bomb on Taiwan would not only cause widespread disruption to the island's power grid, but it would also have serious implications for the surrounding region. It could potentially trigger a larger conflict between China and other countries with interests in the area. It also highlights the need for countries to invest in their own EMP capabilities so that they can defend against this type of attack. Countries should prioritize hardening their power infrastructure and implementing early warning systems to detect EMP attack. In addition, diplomatic efforts should be prioritized to reduce tensions and increase transparency between nations. Otherwise, we could be facing a future where wars are fought silently, invisibly, and devastatingly. So let me ask you, what do you think? Is this the future of war? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more epic stories just like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.